Okay, it's a little bit more than 2 p.m. today in Switzerland, which means 2 p.m. set, and we start our today's masterclass, which is dedicated to fundamental questions about trade credit. Why I decided to hold this masterclass today and why this topic? Learnings about my learnings about credit management actually brought me to the simple idea that is, as in any other type of human being activity, in credit management, we should be concentrating on the necessary things. So we're supposed to do not only we're supposed not to be only concentrating on doing things right, like assessing creditworthiness of our customers, um, like if you wish, collecting cash, like doing many other things, but also we need to concentrate. We need to make sure we are really doing right things. Just give me a second. Okay, so we need to make sure we are doing right things. It's not about teaching the audience how the credit management is to be done. My role here is to set the questions which I believe are the most important. You can and you should, and I will be highly appreciating if you will challenge me after each question. So I will set a question, I will provide an answer, and then if you got an idea of your own questions, of your own answer, please type them in the chat, or then we will have short conversation after each question, just to challenge the idea. I'm happy to change my opinion, because I set questions, I came to my conclusions, but I don't believe I am the holder of the ultimate truth about anything, including credit management. But what the main thing I really believe in is that proper credit management starts from setting right questions, from asking right questions. So if we don't have all answers, let's at least ask questions first. And first question for today will be a bit tricky. With all its simplicity and my maybe weak attempt to get something scientific, this will not be boring. It opens several topics at the same time. So the question is quite simple: when the credit happened for the first time? So the history of credit. Usually when we open a book or when we listen to economists, we hear the story about the medieval Venice, where the Jewish people who were not allowed to do any business, they started to lend money and earning the interest. There is nothing wrong with this story, but at the same time, if we take, for instance, the Credit Management Handbook, written by great Glenn Bullivant, by Mr. Credit, in the preface, in the foreword, we read that there is in the world there are many, there are enormous number of types of different credit. Like, we have loans, we have hire purchase, we have leasing, we have, I don't know, we have overdrafts. But at the same time, Glenn provides an extremely nice example. Every employee is a creditor to the company, which means the employee starts his or her job on the day first of the month and gets his salary and gets the salary on 20th. So the employee provides credit to the company. Yeah? Meaning that he is also a creditor. And how my first question, whether or not employees happen in the medieval Venice for the first time. It is obvious that employees started to work for their employers significantly earlier. And sometimes people were paid not even in the end of the month, but in the end of the year. So the credit's supposed to happen significantly before the medieval Venice. And what happened in the medieval Venice is that it was the beginning of the banking, which is absolutely correct. And the main product of the banking is loan. So loan as a type of credit started to happen. Loan as a type of credit, that the loan with interest rate started to happen in the medieval Venice. But even before that time, there were Templars who were providing credit to even to the governments and to the kings. And then employees as a type of credit supposed to happen significantly earlier, because people start to work for employers significantly earlier. And this is not the end. When we take into account trade credit, I am not a historian and I'm not the economist. But what I'm trying to say is trade credit, meaning ability to take goods or service right now and pay for them later. I'm pretty sure this everything was in existence significantly before medieval Venice. And here we're coming to a quite interesting topic. So looking at all the types of credit, I found one common thing between all of them. I even wrote a kind of short text about the element of credit. So what is the element of credit? I allow myself to define it as an economic value trusted by one party to another one for the certain period of time. Simply trusted. Because credit comes, it derives from the Latin verb del credere, which means trust, and so on and so forth, but it is trusted. And then I offer everyone, if try to find any commercial transaction which will not contain that. If you wish, if you know one, please type that in the comments. I look forward to see it, but normally I got this discussion many times. We already have it, and I look forward for the transaction which wouldn't have it, and I failed. I'm looking for it since 2003, I think, when I started to ask this question, and it's already 20 years and I failed, because each time I find that there is somebody who is giving trust to the other party. Whatever example we take, the most common, I don't know, advance payment. Well, obviously, in case when we as a creditor, when we as a supplier do not provide customer with the credit terms, we don't extend any credit. This means that for the transaction to happen, our customer is supposed to send us an advance payment. But the question, advance payment, is advance payment as a credit? Yes, it is as credit as a loan. Yeah, because it is just cash sent to our bank account or cash given to us in anticipation that we will deliver goods. So this is pure credit. And if we look deeper into details, we understand that credit exists. Like financials say, there is credit everywhere. Yes, there is credit everywhere, but why? Main thing here is that we cannot, sorry for my bad English, we cannot coincide two events perfectly. We cannot make two things at the same time: transfer goods or render service and pay for it. We cannot make it, all at the same time. We cannot, they cannot happen perfectly at the same time. There is always a difference. Even if I will be, I don't know, selling you my mug with my right hand, and you will be giving me money for it with your right hand, so I will, and taking money from you with my left hand. There will be still a difference in time because somebody should release fast. That means, by the way, credit, because no transaction could happen without trust. We're supposed to start to believe, and there is always difference in time. And if we come back with all of that to the very first question, so when the first credit took place, I do believe that the first credit happened with the first trade transaction. It was like thousands, if not tens of thousands years ago, when people started to exchange goods between themselves. Because in that case, somebody should give first and give trust, put the trust to the other party, and receive goods, other goods or money or whatever from the counterpart, which means the credit is an existence for as long as the trade exists. And I do believe trade exists for quite a long time. So credit is everywhere. And one more interesting conclusion out of that. Each time I speak with people, each time I say credit, we have a very strong association with loans and banks. But understanding that there is an element of credit in every commercial transaction just leads us to the conclusion that credit is much more wider than loan, overdraft, and banking itself. That the term credit is significantly wider, it is bigger. So we're supposed to take care of it. My favorite joke is that we all are creditors, but not all of us take this role consciously. Do you have any questions? Please switch on your cameras, switch on your mics, and if you disagree or you got your own opinion, you got interesting question, please ask. Okay. Since no questions, I'm get scared, so maybe I'm boring. Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. So, but I called our today's session as fundamental trade credit questions. So my main profession is actually trade credit, and here we've got another important question: whether or not we can manage. So that we understood that credit is wider than just banking world, let's say, or wider than financial services. However, we understand, and when we understand, there are like other evidence to that. Like if you can look at any big corporation and try to compare the like in the balance sheet of any company, what is the cooperation or what is the ratio between loans and trade creditors, you will see that this is at least 50-50. If we take like wide selection of companies, we will see that nobody knows who is providing more credit, suppliers or banking. That's again, trade credit is quite wide thin, and we need to take care of that. But here there is one tricky thing. Vast majority of the literature, I don't say everything. I won't be giving you like specific examples because that's it's too difficult and too complicated. But then it becomes a quite interesting question whether or not we can manage a trade credit in the same way as we do with loans or investments. Because why this question is important? First of all, many instruments we have in trade credit are created for investment business and for the loan business. Good example, I don't know, scoring models used in banking system. Yeah, but then when we go to and try to find an academical works, vast majority of them, some of them say this is an investment, another, or let's say even bigger in the bigger part of the academics writing that trade credit is a loan to a customer. And intuitively, I always had a disagreement with that. Because, I mean, let me give you my personal example. I came to a production company from the bank where I used to collect outstanding loan. And I came there with a clear understanding that every customer is bloody potential debtor because they got overdue, they don't pay on time, and some of them may fail and we will lose money. And my job is to protect companies' asset. And quite interestingly, I found that the way I used to work with loans is not applicable to for receivables. Earlier this year, I wrote a couple of texts. It was they were just answering a question, asking and answering a question whether or not receivable is a loan and whether or not receivable is an investment. And there are many are quite a number of arguments suggesting that receivable itself is significantly different from an investment. Good, simplest example, normal investment, for instance, when we invest money in shares, we become a proprietor of a business. But when we provide trade credit, we don't have any right and we don't have any voting right in that company. We don't acquire management right. Yeah? Another simple example, that loan normally comes with an interest, but to the certain extent, obviously, there is no free credit. There is no free credit for any party. But when we provide loan, we earn interest. And furthermore, there is another principal difference between the loan and the receivable. Loan is a product itself. whereas receivable is a supportive financial service which helps us to provide, to promote our goods or services to our customers, or to support them, or help them to use to overcome their their deficit of available cash. We let them use it now and pay for them when they got cash from it, or a little bit earlier. But in the end of the day, trade credit is not a product itself, whereas the investment and whereas where the loan is, which means that we cannot simply copy paste practices from the banking or from the investment business and apply them to the trade credit. We need our own approach to credit management. There is one more important argument. In vast majority of cases, trade credit operates in the competitive environment. What does that mean? If, for instance, bank does not provide loan to one of the customers, they got quite a demand for others. So if they reject one customer, they got 5 others. When we work in trade credit, we cannot afford such a luxury. You can read it not only from me. We've got living classic here, John LaRocca. You can read others like Glenn Bullivant, like you can read what is written, and what is said by Philip King, by Patrick Connolly, whoever you take. Everybody understands that we live in competitive environment, and credit is used to keep customer on time and to support customers. This means that there are principal difference between what we call exclusive credit and inclusive credit. In case of exclusive credit, we use credit analysis and other instruments of credit management to exclude customers we don't want. We have a luxury to consider to discriminate between customers we want and customers we don't want. In trade credit, in I would say good 2/3 of the situations, we cannot afford that. We're supposed to find we are supposed to find a way to deal with reasonably any customer, which is significantly different, which means that we are using credit to attract customers, which is called inclusive credit. And in two-thirds or 75%, if you wish, 3/4 of the cases, we are to use credit to attract customer. We cannot afford exclude customers we don't like, unless this is like, I don't know, technical bankrupt or like significant abusers of credit or something supposed to be something extremely exceptional, which means we are in inclusive credit, and we cannot afford just copy pasting practices from investment or loan or like other exclusive credit businesses directly to trade credit. This is competitive environment. I give you a practical example. The same market, FMCG, different products, but the same market, the same country, the same time, the same period of time, 2 companies, international ones. We were not speaking about somebody like local companies with no knowledge on whatever it is. Apply the same credit policy, either cash in advance or bank guarantee if you want credit. Quite simple. Yeah. Everybody wants to protect their receivables. Everybody believes that strong credit policy is supposed to bring strong results. First company improved their receivables and customers were happy. Second company lost 30% of their volume in 2 weeks. So the result was, receivables were great. Receivables were great. Nobody disputes that. But, the results for the business were very, very far from being relevant. And again, this is not just like we can simply apply. Today I wrote the text about the illusion of simplicity, trade credit simplicity. This is exactly about that. Each time we need to find a way, an individual way to reasonably any customer, and that's what is called trade credit. And this is absolute non. It's different credit from loan or investment. Again, if you have your own view, let's have a chat. Please put your comments or switch on your mics and cameras, and let's if there is a disagreement or like comments are also welcome. Comments are also welcome, please. Okay. Okay, thank you, John. So true, in 80s and 90s, at Hewlett Packard, we turned down an order because of perceived credit risk. However, in 10s and 20s at Hitachi, we could not turn down any order. Now we negotiate repayment terms. We evaluate it when a sale is recorded. Exactly. So next, thank you very much, John. Thank you very much for joining, for supporting me that much. Now we are to discuss next. Today there will be 4 questions, not more. Third one will be a little bit more simpler, but you see, why I think it is fundamental, because I started to learn about the conflict between credit and sales just in the beginning in 2001 when I came to what is called trade credit management. And what was really interesting is that really that was the fight. That was the fight between sales and me. So I was like, it was quite romantic. By the way, because I was one against about 15 people in sales department who were working in wholesale, and I thought that everybody is against me to the certain moment of my career. And well, I don't believe we need to discuss that conflict. There is my masterclass, credit against sales, credit versus sales. Way from conflict to collaboration. I went this way myself. I can tell you it worth it. It's difficult, but it worth it. But main question here is just like we need to, this way of overcoming this conflict to actually wiping it forever from the company, because that's the best and simplest way to improve credit management performance. But many people don't start it, or don't believe it will work, because there is a misunderstanding, and they don't have an answer to the following question. And the question is, why receivables exist? Meaning, what is the main purpose of the existence of accounts receivable? I do believe that most part of the audience do not believe that receivables exist to create job for people like me, like you, like everybody whose title within the company involves either credit or collection. I don't believe that our job is the main purpose of the receivables. By the way, why don't you try to give your own answer? Thank you, Gaetano. Yeah, please. What would be so? AR exists to support sales. Any other? Yes, this is actually the answer. Not may we may redefine it, we may rediscuss it, we may give it different wording, but in the end of the day, receivables exist to help us to help the company to get competitive advantages, and in the end of the day, to sell more. We all know that use of receivables presumes financial cost because it requires financing. We all know that use of receivables presumes taking credit risk. We might transfer it to a third party, but this will be taking the risk of that third party. It's not like we are removing credit risk together. But at the same time, trade credit gives two main advantages. Yeah, volume of sales and customers' loyalty, which means future sales. So altogether, receivables exist to make sure we've got as much turnover as we can. Like one of the best sales directors I was working with said, there should be no reason for us, no reason to undersell. So for underperformance, we're supposed to sell as much as our product could be, I mean, use full potential of our product. And receivable, I mean, existence of receivables, or use of receivables is actually the main purpose of that. So when we try to sell a product, we're supposed to understand how much receivables we reasonably need. Please don't get me wrong. This does not mean that we're supposed to use receivables or like receivable support or trade credit in whatever way it serves sales. No, I never said that. And I will never say that. This means smart use of receivables, smart use of credit. But credit does not exist as a thing for the sake of itself. Credit exists to support sale, to win the market. And obviously, we're supposed to make sure it's reasonable use. That's why, by the way, the conflicts of sales started to go away. I mean, it removes itself when we start speaking with our sales colleagues and try to understand what do they need from us, what support they need from us. And as soon as we provide it, magic happens. They understand that spending time with us and working with us and speaking with us with credit is actually beneficial for them, because in that case, having our support, they sell more. But this would never put us set side of that. We will be always a supportive function, important supportive function, like artillery in army. Yeah, there is infantry, which is number one by definition, and this is sales. But then there is artillery who helps them to do their job. That's why receivables exist. Therefore, our main role as a credit managers supposed to be done there at the moment of sale or even before the sale happens, to help our colleagues in sales department to sell. Surprising thing here is that this is also the best time to ensure timely payments. Significant number of companies and managers do believe that we can sell, or we're supposed to ship to customers as much as we can and then do our best to collect. This does not work. This does not work because we just like doing all that, the balançoire in French. You're moving there, back, and so on and so forth, which killing relationship with customers. This becomes extremely difficult to work. We just need to sell in a way the customer orders the goods and pay for them on time, and then order again. Create conditions for that cycle to spin with focus on sales. Any questions about that? Questions, criticism, disagreement, comments, maybe something else. Okay, unfortunately, silence. One last comment. Well, yes. This is the part of the sales process, supposed to be part. And credit has absolutely, the comment from John, credit is the part of the sales process. Yes. We, credit, have significant role in that. And this is, by the way, I've been to quite many high caliber credit practitioners, and like every, I don't know, 3 or 4 meetings were dedicated on have an agenda, a topic: how can we raise the credit profile within the organization? And I would say 90% of the cases, people say that we need to collect more cash and we need to make sure everybody can see how well we are at cash collection. Only once I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are collecting cash for the last 120 years. And we are still thinking how to raise credit profile. Maybe we need to do something else. Because our cash collection and our pride for our ability to collect cash only brought us to where we are, sitting in this room and speaking, how can we raise the credit profile which nobody sees? Well, if we want to have better results, we need to do something differently. Because as long as we are continuing to collect cash, or to control and do this everything without cooperation of through collaboration, and yes, absolutely, John, through collaboration with sales, when they say, here are our friends, we need credit to sell more, they will raise our profile themselves. Because
can I add one comment, Andrew,
please,
if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
I have just 5 minutes to talk, then I need to mute myself again because I'm in the office.
Please.
So, sometimes credit department get into play when it's late, and I will explain what I mean. Sometimes our colleagues reach us when it's too late, when they have already come into agreement with some customers, and then maybe they discover that it's not a good customer, or the negotiated condition don't match with the requirements of the company. So it's late for us to intervene at that moment. So that's why it is on my daily experience that I'm trying to get more focused and work more closely to the sales guys, but it's challenging, right? You know what I mean?
Reddit is challenging. Reddit
Yeah.
is challenging, Gaetano. Thank you very much for this comment. But here you see, I couldn't say this is like universal recipe, but since you raised that concern, let me tell you, we just need to, I mean, the attempt could be what I would do in that case. I would simply say, okay, with this customer, with what we are doing, that's already too late to do good credit job. And the possible consequences could be 1, 2, 3. And with a high probability, they will come. And when they will come, when these negative consequences will come, it's a just right moment to take a phone, give our sales colleagues a call and say, guys, do you remember that discussion? We were speaking about consequences. You see, these consequences are coming. It's not about me to just got my to take credit for that, because I mean negative consequences are negative consequences for the company. So maybe next time we will start discussion 1 day early or 2 days early, but you need to show goodwill 1 time, 3 time, 15 time, 150 times until the wall will fall down, wall between credit and sales. Yeah, like in that romantic phrase, rise and rise again until the lambs become lions. That's the way. Gaetano, thank you very much for that comment. And here, there is fourth question which I prepared for today. It is a bit tricky and might sound drastic, but we need to discuss it as well. So we understood that credit is everywhere, and trade credit is different from loan, from investments, and trade credit exists to support sales. And by the way, this is why credit function is actually become successful by contributing to the success of others. That's the way to raise the concerns. My version of what John just said, that through the cooperation with sales, yes, but we need to contribute. We need to contribute into their success. And when we start to contribute into their success, they will start to help us. They will start to appreciate this, will raise our profile and let us, by the way, Gaetano, answering your question, when you got higher profile within the organization, people start to listen to you and people start to work with you early, and they ask you, they follow your advice. This is raising the profile. Yeah. But then there is the last, I think. I mean, maybe some other fundamental questions which I will be happy to discuss today, if you have time and if time permits. But what is the prerequisite for credit management? Let me justify myself, because we all believe we are managing credit, and then something happens, and then we say, well, I was unable to do anything because of economy, because of customer, because of management, because of this, because of that, because of something. And surprisingly, I came to a simple question. So each time people got a loan standing overdue, or people got a bad debt, or something like that, like negative consequences of receivables, or concerned with receivables or trade credit, I really ask themselves, and I also ask myself, first of all, because I am practicing credit management. My question is, why? Again, not, I will ask with my, let's say, imperfect English. Why receivables happen? It's not like what is the main existence, but who let receivables happen? Who let happen alone? Who let happen an investment? Here, this everything connected, but every form of credit happens as a consequence of something. And what is this something? And this, what I come to conclusion is that the conclusion I came is that this is somebody's decision, even collective one. We have credit committee who decided to let either loan or investment or whatever receivable to happen. And then I ask myself, and ask people who complain that we got bad debt because of customer who abused our credit and so on and so forth. I ask myself whether or not the customer took a gun, like mafia times, put that gun to our head and said, that will you either give us credit or you will be dead. And nobody said this happened. Or maybe there was a plane with a bomb who will fall down, which will fall down on our office if we won't provide customer with a credit. Sorry, this is a bit drastic, maybe politically incorrect, but I just want to be as contrast as possible to highlight one simple fact. Every credit in this global economy, every credit, every single type of credit, from the employee who took an offer from the company to, I don't know, $20 billion loan given by a bank to a company to, I don't know, $100 billion investment into whatever joint venture it is, so on. So all the things in the global economy happen by somebody's free decision. I did an attempt to find a legislation which at least somehow can enforce a creditor to provide credit. And so far, I failed. Unless you know, I mean, if you know something like that, please let me know. I will be very happy to see. But no one, I mean, no one creditor in this world has been forced to extend credit to a customer, credit, loan, investment. It's always a free decision. So there is what is called free will of a creditor. So each time we as a company or as a group of people provide somebody with a credit, this is our own decision. And it is only question to us how we take this decision, how we implement that decision, and how we live with the consequences of that decision. But every single bad debt, every single overdue, as well as every single departed customer, is a consequence of decision we've taken. Sometimes we as credit managers, or I would say in vast majority of times, we are not taking decisions ourselves, we recommend them. But does that mean we supposed to give up? Does that mean that there is nothing in our hands? Does that mean we did enough to make sure our voice is heard? Yes, absolutely, but it is not forcing you. If you don't like it, you can stand up and go. You can leave this market. Nobody, I mean, there is nothing forcing us, Gaetano. I understand what you say. Yes, absolutely. In order to be competitive, we need to grant credit. Granting credit is a prerequisite, but we are not granting credit because somebody forced us. There was no enforcement. And so my answer to that question, again, we got free will and we're supposed to take responsibility. So credit management itself starts, so main conclusion out of that question and the answer I propose is that we suppose to take responsibility for credit as an organization. We're supposed to be a responsible creditor. We cannot do everything. We might not be able to, to overcome or to predict all the consequences because, yes, we do live in what is called VUCA world. Yeah, but we can do the maximum we can. And first thing we need to understand is that since we got free will, we're supposed to take responsibility for what we do. I will here, in conclusion, just quote my favorite researcher of management, who is Jim Collins, the author of Good to Great. And what he said in one of his interviews, he said, I mean, he was asked how to find the right employee and how to find good workers or whatever. And he said, good workers never say we have job. Good team players never say we have like something. They always say we have responsibility. And I do believe if we want to really raise the profile of credit within the organization, we should start from a simple thing as responsibility. We're supposed to just say we are responsible for this portfolio. We take full responsibility of this portfolio, whatever it happens outside. And we will just do, we cannot do everything. We don't have full power. And sometimes I even had to say to my employees, guys, can you create some, they were saying like, okay, that said, we were not able to, to deal with that overdue and so on and so forth. I said, please remember that, I said, can you create a world in 6 days? The answer is obvious. You cannot create, you are not God. You cannot do everything. Sometimes we need to understand our limitations, but when we take responsibility for something, this automatically means that we are doing our best to make sure our portfolio look as good as it could be. Because in the end of the day, every credit portfolio, I can tell you, is only as good as it is managed. And if we start, if we want our portfolios to shine and to be really productive, as in terms of sales support, as well as overdue and bad debts, and also in terms of cost, if you wish, we're supposed to take responsibility of it and really work and try to do right things. We got a couple of comments. Credit evolved out of the necessity to become and then remain competitive in the marketplace in order to grow revenue and ensure repayment. Yes, I could not agree with you more. I just rephrase. I do believe John, you know Walking Bear. He had an extremely great definition of credit management. He said he used to say, keep them buying and keep them paying. And yeah, you just need to do that at the same time. Both. If you do, this works. Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished with the questions, so please switch on your mics, your cameras. Let's have a discussion, questions, commenting, whatever you believe is correct. And I really thank you for your passionate attention. Please join me. Unless you're scared, or unless I scared you with something, I try to be sweet, as sweet as I could, as credit manager could be. Okay, maybe. John?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you. I could not see you because it's completely dark, but
Yes. Well, it isn't dark in Scottsdale, Arizona, so it's a technical difficulty.
it's okay. It's okay. No worries. Any comment from your side?
Very much concur with your dissertation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But you see, John, I do know that you are maybe you are the one of the thinkers about the credit, and I do remember our last discussion in the Legends of Credit, and I really appreciate that Legends are not coming to Legend series only. You are invited. You're more than welcome to every event I do. But do you have any idea about something like other really fundamental things about credit? What maybe you can share something about that.
Well, the only comment that kept coming back to me, the observation was that I can remember when I joined Hitachi in 2010,
Mm-hmm.
that the prior credit executive was removed. And when I met the members of the credit team, they explained to me that the relationship between sales, the controllership, and credit was always acrimonious. There was always constant argument. And I went around and I interviewed each of the credit and the collection team members.
Mm-hmm.
And then we met together and I introduced the idea to them of collaboration, that,
Mm-hmm.
that we are really part of the sales organization, that the purpose for our existence is to enable revenue growth and to collect the associated accounts receivable that we create by enabling that revenue growth, that
Mm-hmm.
it's a partnership with sales. And that was completely new to the members of the credit and collections
Mm-hmm.
team. And I don't know where that process changed. I can go back further. The Dun & Bradstreet Corporation used to have meetings like you have today in the United States in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
And when I rejoined Hewlett Packard as the credit manager first for the Americas,
Mm-hmm.
and we went around the room and the executives all worked for the controllership or they worked for the treasurer. At
Yeah.
Hewlett Packard, I worked for the vice president of sales. I was the only credit executive who worked for a sales manager.
Well,
And
there are some others.
yes, but I'm talking about in 1985. There weren't many at the time.
Absolutely.
They, and they
that
were
was an
all
exception.
old men, and
Yeah.
I was very young, and now I became one of those old men. in any event. And now there are young women and old women, which is better also. So they're the differences. But everything you spoke about, we are in agreement, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't really add to your presentation.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted, because we had several conversations with Michael Dennis, and he also had that experience of being credit manager reporting to a sales director or head of sales. But I believe you know Michael himself. He's quite strong personality.
We are very familiar with one another. We both have lived and worked in the Silicon Valley most of our careers. Yes.
Okay. So no, I know him. I mean, I can feel it from, because he has quite strong personality. So he was like standing on the credit position, even being, I mean, he was never afraid to be a black sheep in the sales organization, if I understood him correctly. But at the same time, again, understanding that why credit exists, why receivables exist, really put us on the right side, as it is said by some of the world leaders, on the right side of the history, on the correct side of the history. So we are doing right and correct things. John, thank you very much for supporting me. We don't have. Oh, finally! Hallelujah!
I exist.
No, I really believed. I always believed you exist. Because we've met each other in person. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming today, for joining us, for your contributions, for your, first of all, patient attention to my humble work. I really wish you, because this is the last masterclass for this year, I really wish you Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, best of luck in your careers. And as traditionally I used to say, I wish you the highest possible sales, the lowest possible losses. Or as it could be said here, as I'm living in Geneva in French-speaking environment, this could be simply said, bon crédit. See you around, and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.